Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while, I'm sorry for my lack of uploads recently, but quite simply put, I just don't really have much to do in the off season. I can't really do any viewing parties, can't really do any content aside from new season stuff, and when the new season dropped I wasn't at my computer, so by the time I came back, I was learning stuff from people that I'd usually make the videos for, so big apologies for the wait, but we are back, and today I just want to give a pretty brief overview, nice quick video back about why I think we just need to make 1 or 2 changes to the season. Now, to start off with, I don't want to start off completely negative. I want to give some props to Epic for the way that they've started the season and for actually some of the general ideas that are involved in this season. As we've seen a fair bit on Twitter, we've seen a bit of the bring pumps back sort of thing, but I'm of the opinion that when the spaz was in the game, it was a little overpowered. I think if we only had the green and the blue back, we'd actually be in a relatively balanced state. But when you play a purple or a gold pump in creative these days, you really do realize how unbelievably broken it is. It's a really good gun. Probably a little bit too good in my opinion. So I quite like where the shotguns are at. The auto shotgun's pretty terrible, don't get me wrong. And the strike is the one that you should be taking. So the auto could do with a little bit of buff. But I think we're in a relatively decent spot. I don't think we really need to make a huge amount of changes to the shotguns. Maybe a slight buff. But, of course, the thing that I'm going to be complaining about, and if you guys follow me on Twitter, you've seen it a lot from me, it's the SMGs specifically. The MK7 is its own problem, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the SMGs are genuinely ruining the fun of the game for me. Now, I'm not someone who plays a lot of Arena, to be honest. I probably spend most of my time in creative anyway, playing a bit of box fight fills and that sort of stuff. But anytime I want to jump into Arena, it's generally with friends, and I find myself only really enjoying it because I'm playing with mates. The actual gameplay of it is incredibly infuriating, and I don't find it any fun whatsoever. The reason being is I'm not the best tracking player, and I think if you follow me on Twitter, you'll have seen a couple of clips of me absolutely whiffing. I'm a terrible player when it comes to just tracking in general, so when I'm forced to essentially play with one of the strongest guns we've seen from a tracking perspective or die, I struggle. And I'm sure that there are a lot of casuals out there who feel the same way as me. Now, the one thing that I keep asking myself is why this meta, or why this SMG sort of dominant meta, is staying in the game without any changes. And the first thing I'm thinking is that Epic did have a long break over Christmas and New Year's, and they wanted to see what the game looked like for a decent period of time before they decided on any big changes. My main issue with this, like we've seen before, is that they're going to be making big changes right before events start. Now, of course, we're not getting right into FNCS, so it's not a huge deal. But especially if we go into the first few cash cups, I think it's really good to have an established meta. I don't think we should be adapting on the fly as such. And that's the whole reason for this pre-season and that huge gap between the start of the season and the first event. So to be changing the meta this close out, if they do make any adjustments, I think doesn't quite make sense. So I don't think they're going to be making any adjustments. If they are, that's great. But I'm here to complain because they are so bad. And as a casual player, when it comes to Arena, I do really think we need some adjustments. I don't see who's going to be enjoying it other than the console kids with their adjusted aim assist. So, and that's nothing against console. You guys know I love my console lads. One of my best performing videos is my console viewing parties. So I'm not having a go at console, but I am saying that I feel like we might be slightly catering to the controller console players. Another problem I have with the meta is, of course, the MK7. I can't tell you how many clips I've seen on Twitter of people getting literally 200 to ode with this thing. We've essentially taken Bloom completely out of the game with it, and we've got a lot of players in this game who really, really know how to aim. Funny that, we've got some professionals in this game who are professional aimers. I'm sure if you've been around the scene for a little bit here, you'll have seen some pretty fucking disgusting clips on Twitter of some people 200-0ing people as a solo, let alone as a duo being able to line people up, get their first headshot off, and it's immediately 75 damage at a minimum generally. I just think the MK7, based, again, anecdotally, I don't see many people who enjoy playing against it. It's very, very strong. It's fun to play with, of course, but it's no fun to play against. A bit like the gold pump, where you have someone 200 pump you, it's not that fun, but when you use it, it's great fun. I'm sort of the opinion that both need a slight nerf. I think the SMG, both a damage or a fire rate reduction is quite necessary. I think a slight adjustment in the fire rate for the red dot would probably be the right thing as well for the MK. I feel like every time I get involved in a box fight with someone and I'm trying to play angles and play smart, I just get run at with an SMG, and there's nothing I can do to counter it except try and win the aim duel. And like I said, most of the time that's just not going to happen for someone unless A, I'm on controller and I've got that aim assist for the box-to-box contact, or B, I actually put time into tracking properly, which I find nauseatingly boring, so I'm not going to do that. I'll be interested to see what you guys feel, because I think I've got a pretty good mix in my audience between, some of those more casual competitive players who might be slightly similar to me, and then I know I've got some like real casuals in the fan base as well, but then I've also got a lot of players who are outright professionals. So I'd really like to see what you guys think. Tell me in the comments if you think that we need some serious changes, or if you think we might be in the right sort of ballpark. Just let me know that in the comments. Now, I did say I didn't want to be completely negative, and I think I am going to try and give some positives for the season, because I actually think if we have a decent balanced gun system, we might have one of the best seasons we've seen in a while. Reason being, we've got a really, really nice map. I think this map is really well distributed. We've got good hills, we've got good sight lines. Everything seems to make sense. I think in the last map, I think there was a little bit too much open space, and there is a lot of open space in this map, but you'll start to notice as you start moving around the map, I feel like there's a little bit more natural cover. There's a few more ridges, undulations that you can kind of get behind. When I think back to the last map, there were a lot of really, really dominant positions with really, really open areas in front of them. You think of those really good surge spots. Zate Hill, Boney Main, what we called Muzz Hill and OC. Those were really, really, really dominant surge spots that didn't really necessarily have a counter, and if you get there late, or if you rotate past that late, you're just going to get obliterated. I haven't seen really, really dominant spots like that in this season as much, simply because I think there's a little bit more undulation to the terrain. I think there's a few more natural bits of cover that I think people can get behind. One thing that does need to slightly be discussed is, of course, the lack of metal, and I think that will be addressed as we start to open the map up a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see on that. The loot pool outside of the MK7 and the SMG, I think, is fantastic. The mid mist is one of the best things they've added in a long time. I feel like they're catering to quite a few playstyles. We've still got peppers in the game. Mid mist provides some kind of heal off potential if you want to play a more passive style in game. And then, of course, we've still got launch pads for mobility. So I think we've got a real good balance of stuff to be using. I think it caters to quite a few different playstyles. Low ground is still strong, and of course you can still play high ground, which is very strong with peppers and with height. Of course, I think the Spider-Man mythic needs to be taken out, but I've heard that they might be taking it out before tournaments start, so fingers crossed on that, because I think, of course, that needs to go, or at least see a significant reduction for competitive in the amount of things that it has. In general, I think if we take away the MK7 and the SMG, we will have one of the best seasons we've seen in a long time. And it's down to Epic to listen to the community, because I know there's a lot of sentiment out there that says the exact same stuff that I'm saying. If they make those adjustments, everyone's going to be happy in the competitive community. Now, I do want to say to those comp players out there, we aren't the only players in the world. We are a relatively small, and when I say relatively, we are a tiny percentage of the entire population that plays the game, which is why I'm really interested. If you're a casual player, if you don't think you're one of those players who's in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of the player base, please let me know in the comments what you guys think of the MK7. Please let me know what you think of the Stinger SMG. It would actually really help me form more of an opinion about the way that the game is viewed at the moment, because I only see it as a complete negative. I don't see any positives about the game in its current state with those guns in the game, because the gunfights are what drive the game for me. If you can't enjoy fighting in this game, there's no point playing it, because the fighting is the fun aspect. There's, of course, the building and the creative and that stuff, but if you're going to get into the game itself, if you want to get involved in arena, that sort of stuff, you have to enjoy the fighting aspect, getting involved, playing players. The survival aspect when you're getting started in the game can be very exciting, but of course, once you get past that stage and you want to start dropping kills, that's what becomes exciting. So I'll be interested to know what your thoughts are. So leave them in the comments below. Thanks, guys. I think I might have waffled a lot, but it's my first video back, so I just want to get on and have a chat about the season that I think we might be either heading down the worst meta, but if they fix, we could be heading down one of the better metas we've seen. So I think there's a couple things to do. But yeah, I'm continuing to waffle. That's me. And I appreciate you guys listening. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.